Hey church, it's Pastor Carrie here for your Keeping Connected Tuesday, May 12th video. And we are coming to talk to you and continue the conversation that Pastor Charlie started on Sunday about the Christian response to racism. So if you haven't heard his sermon from Sunday yet, you should log on to our YouTube channel or our Facebook page and watch the church service and let God speak to you through his sermon. And in that, he has really challenged us to begin to craft how do we as Christians respond to racism in our community and in our world. And so through the videos this week, we will be addressing different ways that we each have sought to respond to this. And so today I want to talk to you a little bit about talking about racism with children and with youth. And I brought my husband, John, here to talk with me because we do this together in our household. We have two children, Madeline and Ian, and Madeline is 6 and Ian is 3. And even at their young ages, we have begun to talk about racism and sexism and classism and how do we view people as God created them and not as an ism. And we don't always use words like racism or sexism or classism, but instead we've chose to surround them with examples of God's beautiful creation. And so that's some of what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, I asked John to come today because he had a conversation with Madeline on Sunday about Pastor Charlie's sermon, and I thought that he would like to tell us about that. So John, will you tell us?
Sure. Just after Pastor Charlie, or as he was talking about the shooting of Mr. Arbery in Brunswick, my daughter looks up and said, "I don't think this is appropriate for kids." And she'd been coloring, and I wasn't even sure she was listening, but she was. And I told her that, well, it's not really appropriate for anybody because this kind of thing should never happen. And that opened up the door for a small conversation about why it happened and kind of what we didn't go into any serious detail at the time. And she went back to coloring, and so we had a small conversation, but it opened the door for more conversations. But in reality, it was a conversation, like Carrie said, that had already been started, and but that was just another way to continue that. And so we've been thinking of ways to further that conversation, and because kids are aware, they know what's going on, even when we don't think they do.
Yeah, kids definitely are aware. Even Madeline has come home from school asking about people who are have different color skin than her. And so we began a conversation a long time ago by even taking a simple action such as filling their library, which you actually see behind us, with books that depict God's beautiful world, not as the way that she sees it, just one view of one color. So we work hard at filling her library with books that have different kinds of people written by different authors, men and women and people of color, and that has helped form the fabric of what she reads. And so we thought quickly we'd show a few of her favorite books to you about how to build empathy and compassion. And so these are some, and they're not perfect, right? But these are good books about compassion and empathy. And if you want to know more about these, you can ask me. One of her favorite books, believe it or not, is the story of Ruby Bridges, this is a little girl who was forced to go to school when desegregation was happening. She was forced to go to a white school, and her response to that. In a couple days, I think I'll go live on Facebook and read it to you. So if you've never read it, you can join me on my Facebook page for that. These books are other books in her library, and they have people of color. They talk about different kinds of people. This is Dr. Seuss, but in it, he talks about different kinds of people and different kinds of places. And so we have more and more books like that. And then as we were looking at our shelves, we thought, how would we talk to teenagers about this? So our kids aren't teenagers yet, but your kids are, and your grandkids may be. And so we thought this is a graphic novel, and it's written about Satchel. It's about Satchel Paige, who was a baseball player, and it is a graphic novel, and it depicts. It says Satchel Paige striking out Jim Crow, so it's about Jim Crow laws. And then this is another graphic novel, and this is written by George Takei, who was a Star Trek person.
Lieutenant Sulu from the original series of Captain
He was a Star Trek person, and he wrote this graphic novel depicting his time in a Japanese internment camp. So it is not appropriate for children, but for teens would be fine. And then if your kids are readers and they don't want pictures, they don't need pictures, or if you want a book to read, this was my favorite book when I was growing up, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. And it is about a family in the South. And then this is a memoir written by Jackie Robinson's daughter. You can tell we're baseball fans. And so these are different ways that we have filled our shelves with books about people that are different than us, in addition to, of course, the books that we all, other books that we read. But we wanted to commend this to you and say it is good and appropriate for you to begin to think about how do you talk to your kids about this world that God has created and that is filled with different kinds of people in different kinds of places. And remind them that they are all created by God and that we are all worthy to be treated with respect and with love. And you can do this. And if you want to engage more in this conversation, John and I are here for you. You can find us on Facebook or through our own pages or the church page. But this is something that we never mind talking about. We don't have it all right. We are not the experts in this field, but we are here and we are available. But anyways, in the meantime, stay safe and be healthy. Thanks, guys.